Detroit, how's the Detroit Sports Podcast going?
This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Hey everybody, this is Freddie Cohen of ESPN Radio. When I'm not talking about breaking news or breaking news on ESPN Radio, I'm always a fan and listen to the Detroit Sports Podcast, and so should you.
You guys keep up the good work, man. Podcasts are the way of the future.
Welcome in, everybody, to the latest edition of Doc and Jock. I am the Doc, John Macaroon. Joining me, my cousin Adam, the Jock Strozinski. What's up, cuz? Looking forward to this podcast recording, sir.
It's going to be a good one, 298. It's been a little bit of a rough week for me, so if I sound a little nasally, a little congested, I don't think I have allergies, but maybe I do. I have no clue. Monday afternoon, we're recording on a Wednesday for a Thursday distribution here. On Monday, all of a sudden, it felt like I got smacked in the face with a shovel. Like, not the full face, just like right over my right eye. And then my nose just started running and leaking. Oh, no! I know, Dan, it's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. I feel like absolute garbage. I tried going to sleep. You know how hard it is to sleep with like one nostril working? Good luck. It's brutal. So if I sound kind of off today, sorry, guys. Just kind of deal with it. Work with me a little bit.
This opening segment is brought to you by FlickApp.com, the newest place to chat Detroit sports. Oh, man, it's a great situation in this podcast when people reach out to you and they're like, hey, I see that you built a following. Why don't you take that following and look into what we got going on? And this Flick app is really cool. You and I and Putty and friends of the podcast have already started using it. We've chatted during Monday Night Raw, SmackDown, and you said it reminded you. Game? Yeah, it reminded you of like old school AOL.
It did.
It was fun. I liked it. So
it's actually really, really cool. Yeah. I have to say, I enjoy it. I thought for sure, I was like, all right, cool. I'll download this to my phone. It'll just be there. I won't really ever use it. In the last, I just downloaded it, I think, on Tuesday afternoon, and Tuesday, Wednesday, I've done nothing but use this app. It's great. And you do a phenomenal job of creating topics and creating what essentially is a chat room. If any of you are familiar with AOL, back in the day with the chat rooms, John does a great job creating the chat room and what the discussion is going to be about. And it's just a place for everybody just to kind of spitball, just talk. Tigers game's going on. Tigers look like they're sucking ass. Everybody can go vent in this chat room and just message. And you can do it all from your phone. It's great. It's like we're all sitting around with each other, but we're not. And we're all having this conversation, and it's all through text, and it's great.
Detroit Sports' newest headquarters, FlickApp.com. Look for information on our Twitter page at Detroit Podcast. So we're 1 week away, cuz 1 week from today, the NFL draft goes down. And
so
everybody's
excited.
talking about it. Everyone's kind of looking at what's going on with the Detroit Lions now. This next week, you're going to hear all the pundits. You're going to read all the articles. You're going to see everything, and it's going to be a wild ride. But for right now, it's just a fascinating look. I want to ask you right now, in terms of all the reading that you've done, what do you think right now the biggest needs are for the Detroit Lions?
Oh, man. Biggest needs. So going into free agency, I think we both believe that they had to somehow address that defensive line. They had to address possibly that secondary, add to that linebacking core. Of course, you needed a wide receiver. You thought that there might be some turnover on that offensive line that just really hasn't been healthy for quite some time now. So there was a plenty of positions that needed to be tackled here. And I think the Lions did a phenomenal job in free agency. I think they did a great job. Went out and got Trey Flowers, who arguably the best defensive lineman out there. Add him to what looks, especially the second half of the year, to be a much improved and a much better defense. All that being said, I think you still have to add pieces to that defense.
Do you think the secondary is the biggest spot to maybe replenish and try to build depth through the draft?
I do, but here's the thing. If you're going to draft at 8, I don't want Greedy Williams. And I know that might be unpopular, but what I've seen of him on film, he doesn't like to tackle. if the play is away from him, he basically takes the play off. He just kind of loafs around. I don't want a guy like that. I want a guy who's going to be up in your face. I want a guy who's going to be chomping at the bit to make a play. There are times. I remember this when I was a kid. I think it was Don Beebe, and it was a game against the Dallas Cowboys. Leon Lett had the football, and he was just kind of meandering into the end zone after a turnover. And Don Beebe stalked his ass down and forced a turnover. What was a for sure touchdown. I want guys like that, guys who are not going to give up in pursuit, guys who are going to chase the play down. That's why I don't want Greedy Williams. That's why if they're going to keep the pick at 8, if they stay at 8 and they're going to draft, I think you take the best defensive lineman that's there, unless you get the best linebacker. But that being said, I don't really want Devin White either, and he is supposed to be the number 1 linebacker. So basically going through everybody who's might be there and what they need, I'm going D-line. Because I don't like Devin White. I don't think what he brings to the table is going to actually translate to what I want. Now, if Devin Bush was there, so say they move back to I don't know, 12, 14, somewhere in that area, and Devin Bush is there, Devin Bush is the guy I want because he plays sideline to sideline. He flies all around. There's no Michigan bias here. It's what he brings to the table. I want a guy like that. I go defensive line, and I know it's a stacked position in this draft. There's a ton of guys in this draft that you can get, but I'm going to get the most impactful D end, or I'm going to get the guy who's going to fit my scheme the best. So look, Josh Allen, I think everybody wants Josh Allen, right? I would kill for Josh Allen.
That's the guy on my name. That's the guy on my list right now. Yeah. It's top of the request list.
I think Josh Allen's going to probably go somewhere in the top 3, maybe top 4. So unless you're moving up, and I think we might talk about that, unless you're moving up, I don't know how you get Josh Allen. That being said, Montez Sweat's there, looks like a real impactful guy. Ceylon Farrell will probably be available later on in the draft, but if you're Bob Quinn and you're high on him, why the hell not? He's played at an extremely high level forever now. Ed Oliver is a guy who his comparables are to Aaron Donald. Do you pass on Aaron Donald again? You passed on Aaron Donald once to grab a tight end named Eric Ebron. Aaron Donald has transformed himself into the most prolific and the most impactful defensive lineman. He plays inside, he plays outside. Ed Oliver can do the same thing. He's going to, and again, Matt Patricia loves multiple fronts, loves to move guys inside, outside, have them stand up, have them down in a 3-point stance. He does all kinds of crazy stuff. Ed Oliver is that guy. He's like a transformer. He's a piece. You just kind of switch them all around, plug him in, and he plays. So for me, those are the 2 guys I would target if I'm going to stay at 8. I think they're the most impactful. I think if you help your defensive line, it makes your linebacking core that much better, and it makes your secondary better. We both agree you have to add to the secondary. But is there a cornerback in this draft that you say, I've got to have him at 8?
No, not at 8. I think that when I look at what the strategy is right now for the Detroit Lions, the season that they had last year, really, really disappointing. Mm-hmm. And so I really believe that the Lions and upper management and Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia, they realize they may only have this opportunity this year to make an impact because the fans are really upset that they took a major step back last year from a team that 2 years ago had 9 wins to a team that had 6 wins. So I think this draft strategy is going to be to go out there and find guys that are going to contribute day one. Good locker room guys, character guys that aren't going to need 4 years to marinate. They need help now. Mm-hmm. So the 2 I put down, like you said, we're on the same page. Josh Allen, Ed Oliver. I think that there's probably, I know every year we do kind of get around to talking about trading, but this year kind of positions itself where if a couple names fall, and then teams behind the lines might want to really press and try to get up there and take a pick, maybe a quarterback or someone else that they feel is impactful. So this year, I think there's a more than strong chance that the Detroit Lions move back. And I heard rumblings that they could move up to get an impact player, but I don't see them taking a risk and giving up future picks for a player to move up. I think they could move back and maybe, get a guy that they feel like they can get at a better spot at 14, 15, right there in the middle of the first round. But I think that what the Detroit Lions need right away, and this draft I think will definitely lean on the defense a little bit. And also at the same time, they will try to look at maybe in the later rounds, 5 through 7, a slot receiver, interior offensive line to kind of bolster that up as well. But it just seems like if you want to have impact and you got a defensive coach, that I think the first couple of picks might be highly emphasized on the defensive side of the ball. So for me, Josh Allen, Ed Oliver, if they say those names, then I'm happy. If they decide to trade back and they go 14, 15, and then they decide to take the tight end, Hawkinson from Iowa, I'll be livid. Because right now reports are coming out that the other tight end actually fits the scheme better.
Noah Fant.
Yeah, than Hawkinson. And people are coming out right away and saying, wait a minute, that in terms of what the Lions could be doing with Darrell Bevell's offense, they really typically don't use a tight end all that much. Mm-hmm. They were saying that even with Jimmy Graham in that offense, they were only targeting him on average 6 to 7 times a game in the slot. So that doesn't seem like it fits with what Hawkinson would bring to the table. So I just can't imagine that the Detroit Lions will draft a tight end in the first round. If they do, I think I will be shocked. You'll see videos with me with my jaw wide open, and I will be floored because there'll be moments of silence. I wouldn't know what to say. I don't see tight end and the offense in the first round being the spot where they go.
I think we both agree tight end is a need. It's a need for this team.
But they took care of it. They went out. I circled and I highlighted. They signed Jesse James.
Yes.
What they signed him for then?
Right.
If you want to still address it in the first round and signing Jesse James, 2 tight ends in the same offseason would be weird.
I totally agree with you. What if this was to play out? What if this was to happen? And I don't know if this will happen or not. You're going to need some help here. But what if they were to take Ed Oliver, round number 1, round number 2 rolls around, you take Irv Smith. He's the tight end out of Alabama. All right? And then round 3 rolls around, you take Rock Young-Sing. I would love this. He's a cornerback out of Temple. And he was a guy who, Singh is a guy who spent 4 years at I think it was a Division II college. He ended up being able to get into Temple, and he played immediately. He picked up their defense, and he was an impactful player. He's been a quick riser up most draft boards, so I don't know if he'll be there in the 3rd round. I have no idea if he'll be there in the 3rd round. But if they could somehow grab a defensive lineman like Ed Oliver, grab your tight end, Irv Smith, and then grab your cornerback, I like those first 3. I like those first 3 picks. I like those first 2 days. I think that's awesome. Now, you talked about getting a guy like Josh Allen, and I think we both agree Josh Allen's going to be special. Looks like he's going to be special. The only way you can get him is if you move up. Do you see a chance that this team moves up to get a guy like Josh Allen, maybe a guy like Nick Bosa? Like Nick Bosa could possibly fall to you depending on what happens at the very, very top of the draft. If Kyler Murray goes number 1, and, people start thinking a little too much.
So make the deal, cuz. What are you willing to give up?
I don't think I want to move up. I really don't. I love Josh Allen. Look, I love Josh Allen, but I don't think I want to move up. I see more what you were talking about before, possibly moving back to maybe 14, a trade with Atlanta, right? Atlanta moves up, gets the player that they need, that they want. You fall back to 14. At 14, things kind of open up a little bit. And depending on what happens in front of you, this is why predicting the draft is so difficult, because depending on what happens in front of you, there might be a really, really good player who you're going to steal at 14. If and I don't think it's going to happen, but if Montez Sweat falls to you at 14, you absolutely take him there. Absolutely. You'd be crazy not to. If Ed Oliver falls to you at 14, the decision's made. You're running to the podium. You're trying to give Roger Goodell that ticket as fast as you can. Like 20 seconds ticks off the board. You're like, here you go. Let's go. Come on, let's go. I want nobody else to be able to steal him from me. Like, you don't even wait to see if anybody else wants to trade back with you. That's what you do. You run up there and you give that to him immediately. So I think trading back is more likely. And we've seen it with Bob Quinn. He loves to trade on draft day. I think he's made 10 trades in his little amount of time that he's been here. And generally, they're later in the draft. It's nothing usually in the first round. It's usually anywhere between the 3rd round to the 7th round. But he's making trades all the time. All the time he's looking to move around. And I think if you could move back to 14, I think you would end up picking up an additional 2 or 3 draft picks. You can then come back in the 2nd or in the 3rd round and go get another piece that you want. So Rock Young-Sing, right? I don't know if he's going to be there in the 3rd round. You can guarantee you get him in the 2nd. So now you got Irv Smith and you got your cornerback. You're good to go. You know what I'm saying? You did all that in 2 rounds. Awesome. Let's roll. and then you have an additional pick for your third round. It makes more sense to me with what looks like it's going to play out and what is being speculated that it'll play out. It makes more sense to me for the Lions to trade back, grab a couple guys, grab a couple draft picks, and then go out and start moving around in the draft.
And this audio, courtesy of NFL.com, you had some pundits kind of evaluating what Bob Quinn had said when he went out and spoke to the media and said, "I'm open for business." Let's have a listen.
Take from Bob Quinn's stuff there.
Well, we definitely take him at his word that he does want to move back, because I have no doubt that Bob Quinn would like to move back, as he has in several drafts, loves those extra second, extra third round picks. And he's right, the depth in this draft is in the second, third round. We're going to see so many top front seven guys go early in this draft. No doubt it's going to push back a ton of other guys. So I have no doubt the second and third round are going to be very good, and that Bob Quinn would like to move, especially if someone, Dolphins, Redskins, maybe wants to come up for a quarterback. The only other thing, guys, that would kind of make me hit pause a little bit is they're also meeting with Josh Allen today on a pre-draft visit. So he's probably not going to be there at 8. So Bob Quinn talks about moving back, but is this due diligence for moving up 2, maybe? Tom?
So you look at it and you go, the tough part is in this situation is there is a certain level of chicanery. They're lying. They bring in people, they throw out there to the media, hey, we want this guy, so that other teams kind of, the smoke screens kind of, you really want to really hold your cards close to the vest and not really let people know what exactly you want to do. And so it's really interesting in that when you look around and you test the accuracy of some of these draft pundits, really, in the end, we're in the same ballpark.
Yeah.
We're talking about the same things everybody else is. And because of the fact...
You're making educated guesses.
Yeah, because...
You're throwing darts at boards.
Remember, the media is getting information from the sources. Their sources are the teams.
Yeah.
And the teams are sending out bullshit. It's great. It's a great system.
And here's the thing, right? Bob Quinn doesn't usually bring in the guy that he drafts number 1.
Right, exactly.
He usually doesn't.
They haven't visited.
Right. He doesn't even... Ragnow didn't even come in last year.
Exactly.
And they took him, This is what he does. He usually doesn't set up a visit. He knows who he wants. He doesn't even bring the guys in. He already knows. He doesn't have to talk to them. He's like, all right, yeah, I'm going to get that guy. So when he goes out and he meets with Josh Allen, look, we both agree Josh Allen's awesome. And we would love to see him in a Lions jersey. We'd love to see him terrorizing guys like Aaron Rodgers 2 times a year. It'd be great. Phenomenal, right? I don't think they're trading up to number 3. I don't think they're going to go ahead and get Josh Allen. Unless something crazy happened and Josh Allen falls to you at 8, I don't see any way they get a guy like that. Which sucks, because I think he might be the most impactful D lineman / linebacker. I like Devin Bush. Okay. If we're looking at linebackers,
his name's moving up the charts quickly here on these drafts. I
don't like Devin White. I don't like what he brings. I like Devin Bush. Devin Bush flies all around the field. He plays sideline to sideline. And as a linebacker, that's what I need. He's going to be an outside linebacker. That's what you want.
What about Rashawn Gary? You see him being a top 15 pick and being worthy of it?
That's Rashawn. Yes, I see him being a top 15 pick. Worth a top 15 pick? I don't know. I have no idea. Rashawn Gary's play, and you go back and watch his film, so inconsistent. Year to year, so inconsistent. And whether it be the defense that Don Brown was putting him in, or whether it be injuries, or whether it be him just taking plays off, I don't know. He was so inconsistent. I've seen him mocked as high as the 4th pick off the board. And then I've seen him as low as 15, and I've seen him in a second round in a mock draft. And I was like, how the hell is he going to make it to the second round? There's no way he doesn't get picked in the first 32.
And something I'm reading, 3rd overall.
Right. It's nuts, man. It's absolutely crazy. So he's all over the place. He's a guy who his film leaves you wanting more. You see it and you're like, man, there's so much damn potential there. Why didn't we see that in his college football career? What happened? There were games where he was just a man amongst boys. And then there were other games where he wasn't even a blip on the radar. You're like, where is he hurt? Is he not on the field? Oh wait, no, he's right there. He's on the field. Why isn't he doing anything? What's going on here? He's so inconsistent. And that's the best way I can describe Rashawn Gary. It's frustrating. It's frustrating. That's why a guy like Putty champions a dude like Chase Winovich, right? Like, oh, Winovich is way better than Gary. No. Michael, sit down. No. Chase Winovich is not better than Rashawn Gary, right? Rashawn Gary has much more potential and much more talent than Winovich does, all right? Winovich is a guy whose motor doesn't stop, though. So it's one of those guys who's a high-effort player who's constantly striving to make a play. Whereas Gary, probably more talented. I don't want to say he doesn't try as hard because I don't want to ever say that about a player. I don't want to take that away from him. It just sometimes he's not as impactful as you would expect. How about that? Is that a better way of saying it? Mm-hmm. So it's I don't know. Extremely talented guy. I see him going in the top 15, probably inside the top 10.
So when you download this, if there's a name that you absolutely want to see donning the Honolulu blue and silver, feel free, message us at Detroit Podcast. We'd love to interact and see what you guys want. Definitely tune in this week. We're going to have a lot of talk, a lot of debate about the Detroit Lions draft. If you want to leave a voicemail, feel free, about 90 seconds. That's your limit, 248-579-8686. That's 248-579-8686. Get on. Get heard worldwide. We want to know who you think should be drafted by the Detroit Lions. Who should Bob Quinn run up there when the draft takes place and call? Whose career will be over? Whose career will take a nosedive when he gets drafted to the Detroit Lions next week? Sorry for the guy, but before we take our first time out, Justin Rogers does a very good job over there at the Detroit News, and he's worked on his second version of the mock draft, and he's the writer that has Rashawn Gary going third. He has a decent mock draft. The first version was semi okay, but the second version a little different. He has at number 8 the Detroit Lions selecting Brian Burns, defensive end from Florida State.
Now, he's a guy who, when the draft process started, I seen him as low as a second round pick or late first round, and he really has rocketed up draft boards. I think he's a talented player. I just think if you have your druthers, right? If you had to pick between Brian Burns, say Ed Oliver, we'll say Devin Bush, TJ Hawkinson, I think there are guys that are going to go before him. Like, I would take Ed Oliver over him. I would take Devin Bush over him. I think Devin Bush fits this defense better. I don't want a tight end first in the first round, so I'm going to stay away from Hawkinson. It's just me, The way I look at tight ends, this is how I look at tight ends, right? I think you can go get an impactful guy. You'll get an impactful tight end just about anywhere. Some guys go undrafted. You just go get a guy. You can just go get a guy. It's cool. Do you play basketball? Do you look like LeBron James? Okay, come here. We're going to put pads on you, and we're going to throw you a pass. Just catch that. That's basically what it is, right? That's what your tight end is nowadays. It's a former basketball player who is extremely athletic and probably a little bit too big to be a power forward. You know what I'm saying? Maybe a little bit too small to be a center. That's what your tight end is nowadays. Go get that guy. You can go find that guy. We can go to the YMCA and find that guy. I don't know why the Lions haven't, but no, I don't think I want Burns. I think he's a good player. And look, if they take him, I'm not going to be upset. I'm not going to be devastated. Like, oh my God, this is horrible. No, it won't be that. He's just not high on my list. You know how you kind of tend to fall in love with guys, and that's crucial. It's critical. You shouldn't ever fall in love with a prospect. He just doesn't do it for me. He doesn't make the pants move, if you will.
Getting some strong interaction on Twitter already from our question, should Rashawn Gary be selected in the top 15? Detroit Sports Chat from Florida says, yeah, the upside is through the roof. Just not sure if he has the heart. In the right locker room with the right coach, he could flourish. I see Reggie White ability in there. On the other end of the spectrum, Eric Lambert gets in and says, nope, doesn't feel it.
Nope.
Doesn't feel it at all. Friend of the podcast, Adam Salgett, just wants to get in and tell us, maybe we should start a podcast called Two Adams Are Better Than One. Not sure what we would talk about. I just like the title.
Adam, I'm open to doing a podcast.
Stay on topic, brother. Stay on topic.
I'm open to doing a podcast.
No doubt about it.
You let me know what you want to talk about. It doesn't matter.
Okay, before we take a time out and switch gears and talk about the Pistons and get all riled up there, you're going to want to stay tuned. We'll finish the podcast kind of going around the sports world, maybe talking about one of the greatest upsets in NHL history, talking about Tiger Woods and other great sports topics. Okay, odds. What are the odds that we're going to be satisfied this year, 2019, with the Detroit Lions selection at number 8? How satisfied are we going to be? When they call that name, are we going to be like we were last year when they're like, huh? A lineman? How upset are we going to be in terms of frustration, anger? Are we going to be up here swearing when we break down the draft for the Detroit Lions on episode 300? When, obviously the Detroit Lions have selected tight ends in the first round. they've selected people where you go, wait a minute, why would you draft this person? There are 4 people better that could have been there at better value. What percentage are you going to give it that we're going to be happy, clapping our hands, maybe hugging, taking great videos that the Detroit Lions got somebody that day one will at least show up and look like an NFL player? 22%?
No. I think Bob Quinn's going to get this right. Look, Bob Quinn's first-round picks have panned out. They've been pretty solid for the most part. I think we'll be happy. Now, are you factoring at 8 if they trade back? Or are you just talking about first-round overall?
The first-round name that they select, whoever it may be.
I think we'll be happy. As
long as it's not T.J. Hawkinson, I think most people will be in the neighborhood of happy.
Can I say, because Hawkinson's out there, and maybe Noah Fant's out there as well, can I say 85% that we'll be happy?
Oh, good draft.
I'm going to say tight ends are going to be, they're taking up that 15%. Do you want to do this? So, what is it, podcast? Yeah, podcast 300 will be the week following the NFL draft.
Yep.
Do you want me to do, because every now and then when the Lions really screw it all up, I usually do the redraft. Like, we should have went with this guy instead.
Always. We always do that.
Should I do the redraft?
Of course.
However many picks they have.
And maybe, but it won't be with the tone of like they fucked up. It'll be tone of this could have been a different version. Of course.
Okay, cool. We'll do that. Then we'll mark that down. And so when you go to download on Thursday, what is that?
2 weeks.
May 2nd, we'll have the DocNJock redraft of the Detroit Lions draft. So usually, this is back when Martin Mayhew, remember when Martin Mayhew was around? He would go and draft, and I would sit there and scream at the TV. I would then come in the following podcast, and I would give you the guy he should have took, the guy he should have taken, and how it would have worked out so much better for this team. So much better for this team. I'm trying to remember what my what the one was that I got, that I like crushed it. I nailed it. I hit it out of the park. It was like the one time I was like spot on a guy, and it worked out. It's going to come to me later on in this podcast. I don't remember exactly who it was, but I was like, I don't know why we took this guy. We should have had this guy. So upset.
LaDon is in the no camp on Rashawn Gary. He's like, nope, and I am a U of M fan. See, polarizing guy. I think he's one of those guys that's going to be hit or miss. I think that a general manager with brass balls that takes him will have an opportunity maybe to have a strong return, or could be a general manager killer where you take them like 10th, 11th, and you pass on someone maybe like a Ned Oliver or somebody that could be potentially strong like a Montez Sweat, and boom, and you're having a big, huge nightmare. And that's probably my biggest fear always with the NFL draft. And until the Lions hit 2 or 3 in a row in the first round that are contributors that don't have question marks and don't take 8 years to develop, then we'll always worry that, oh boy, the guy that the Lions selected is going to be a bust, and the guy right after at 9 is going to be a world beater. That's just the biggest fear that everybody has. It's not going away. We'll keep talking about it, but that's just the biggest, strongest fear that everybody has, is that the Lions will pick the wrong guy, unfortunately. But I kind of got a feeling like, hey, and that's the biggest fear, is if Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia, who are like bros, they're butt buddies, they're bros, they know each other, they've worked together for 20 years, if they can't sit in a room for 2 fucking years and put together a plan to get guys that'll contribute, how the fuck are we going to get a good team? I feel like this is the last bastion of hope, is the Bob Quinn, Matt Patricia connection. It's the last bastion of hope. It really is, because no 2 guys are going to be closer that are going to work together. Yeah. And if that doesn't work, shit. That's what I'm saying. This run, this next couple seasons could really determine what's going on. And like I said, here from the network, all hope and good thoughts to the Stafford family. Hopefully the surgeries that take place for Kelly Stafford go well, and that Stafford can get back 100%, because remember, I know that he's definitely going to be focusing in on helping his wife recover, but the Lions are installing a new offense. But, if you want to be a cynic, it doesn't take a whole lot of brain power to call a handoff left, middle run right, toss sweep left, middle handoff. In that situation, it doesn't take a whole lot of effort to get in the books to turn around and hand it to Kerryon Johnson, which might be the first couple plays in the preseason games, which is just turn around, hand it off, or turn around and throw some dump passes to C.J. Anderson.
Oh, there is no might. There is no might.
That's what's going to happen, baby. Dink and dunk and slow it down, baby. That's the name of the game. Ooh, I love this talk. It went by so fast. I want to talk for another 2 hours about the draft, but we'll definitely go more in depth. We'll lock down a majority of the mock drafts next week. Might have Steve Dace on. Bro, he messaged me some amazing stuff. And this guy, Steve is really a wizard. If you don't follow Michigan Podcast, it's unbelievable, the content, what he's done. He messaged me. He's like, I'm putting together a series of stuff on the NFL draft. Already have my final big board of the top 102 overall, top 3 rounds. Then I'm going to do a big board just as if I were Bob Quinn. Then I'll do a mock draft on how I predicted and what I would do instead. The guy loves himself the draft, and you can follow him on Twitter at Michigan Podcast. He truly does have a photographic memory. He does shows for specifically Michigan here on our network. Dude, the guy's a wizard, and he correctly picked Virginia to win the NCAA title when not many did. So props to Steve Dace always. We'll get him on very soon, whether it be on this episode, whether it be on Doc and Jock, or another episode on this fine network. Steve Dace is an interesting character and a guy that you should follow. Now, he does have some hot takes on Michigan. You know, last year I remember he said that Patterson was in line already for a Heisman. He's already starting it up again after the spring game. He's like, oh, Justin Fields should be very worried, and da-da-da-da-da. And it's like, oh, my God. It's like after the spring game, he's like, Justin Fields should be worried over there at Ohio State.
You know, it's funny. He is the Michigan fan, right?
It's great.
He is, because he will pump out something like that, and then
Justin Fields should be worried.
Yes, and then they'll have a tough game against Iowa. You'll be like, this team is horrible.
Yeah, it's great. It's the best. That's why I love people like that.
Jim Harbaugh needs to be fired. It's crazy. He sometimes bounces between extremes, but I will say this: he is usually so accurate with his take.
Factually,
yes,
spot on. He does his research, and he knows what's going on.
When he sets his fandom aside, he is so money. It's ridiculous. If you're a Michigan fan, you need to listen to what he talks about.
For what we do here,
awesome.
Objectivity is fine to some degree, but wild fandom is also fine too. And that's what it is that in game, nobody's sitting there going, well, it's going to be fine. I think that, the odds will say that 42% of the time we're going to win this game. No, you're cussing up a storm. Yep. You're like, fuck you. I can't believe you did that. And, props to whoever paid the airline to put. And that's probably the moment of the week for me was somebody at Michigan or somebody at Michigan State trolled heavily during the spring game. They threw up a sign and it said, Dear Jim, message from God. Feel free to pass on first down. It's allowed. And I was like, hey, that was unbelievable. I think that's the message. Oh, I just seen word that the time of this recording, Kelly Stafford's having the surgery.
Oh, really?
In this neighborhood, probably. I had a feeling because on her Instagram, she was saying she was packing for the hospital on Tuesday. So likely she had surgery on Wednesday. So fingers crossed that the surgeons got steady hands, they take care of business, and they remove all the brain tumor, and that her recovery is great. So it's tough times.
So, by the way, just to show you how fickle the NFL draft can be, 2013, Lions took Ziggy Ansah. Turned out to be a pretty good player, right? The guy that I wanted the Lions to take at that pick, I wanted Barkevious Mingo. He's awful. He's absolutely atrocious, right? I thought he'd be a better player.
Seriously, because you wanted Mandingo on the Lions?
Yes, Barkevious Mingo, not Mandingo.
Well, you said Mandingo, didn't you?
No, I said Mingo. Mandingo's a porn star.
Oh, how do you know that?
I watch a lot of porn.
Okay, I was just seeing if you knew.
Come on now. I know exactly who that is. Got a huge wiener. Anyways, Eric Ebron, the Eric Ebron pick, I was furious. I was in class with Vinny Stubbs.
Yeah.
And I was so high on Aaron Donald. I was preaching Aaron. If we go back and we pull tape, I was preaching about Aaron Donald leading up to that draft. They ended up taking Eric Ebron, and I almost beat the shit out of my computer in the middle of class. If I can remember any other crazy hot takes I had, I'll figure them out and pass them along to you.
Yeah, tweet them out. Follow Adam on Twitter at AdamRSTROZ for great hot takes and good, strong insights in the world of Detroit sports.
Just goes to show you could be super, super right on one guy and then super off on another guy.
All right, coming up next, we're going to talk about the Pistons. How much emotional involvement will we have regarding the team? You got into it with Big Drew and Jim. I thought your arguments were spot on, and I thought that the discussion that you guys had was fair.
It was Drew and Ben Raven.
Yeah, but
Jim is on my side.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where I feel dirty because me and Jim are in lockstep.
Yeah, you're right. So how do you argue with somebody that's right? I want to hear how this played out coming up next on this edition of Doc and Jock. Adam, I want to tell you about the Motor City Pawn Brokers, a great sponsor of the network. The Motor City Pawn Brokers are the one-stop pawn shop when you're in need of short-term cash or are looking for quality brand name new and pre-owned merchandise with locations in Detroit, Ferndale, Roseville, and Warren. Their mission is to deliver exceptional value. For all information regarding the Motor City Pawnbrokers, check them out online at motorcitypawnbrokers.com. They're great friends. They support the network. We wouldn't be able to use our credentials and cover the Tigers, cover Oakland basketball, cover great sports if we didn't have support from great sponsors. And one of them is the Motor City Pawnbrokers, a great sponsor of the network. Go check them out, motorcitypawnbrokers.com. Speaking of my coverage of Oakland basketball, I know I talked to you about this last year, but they had their annual Black and Gold Awards. Did they lob an invite to one of the guys that started to report on them and break down their games and go out there and use this big platform to discuss Oakland basketball? Did the DOC get an invite? You know, I've been covering them now and looking here at the credentials about 3 or 4 years. Have they lobbed me an invite to go up there and present an award? It could be even the first award. You know, I can be the opening act. I can walk up there and give the award for best swimmer or best improved or whatever it is. Did they invite the DOC? No, I couldn't have gone because I'm covering the Tigers, but it's nice to be invited. It's nice.
You got to talk to Neil.
I don't want to invite myself.
Neil carries a big stick over there. Did you know that?
Yeah, I know that.
Okay.
I know him personally.
I know.
But that's the thing.
You got to talk to him.
What do you say, like, Neil, I want to come.
Bro.
Look it up.
Do you realize what I've done for Oakland basketball?
Nothing. They're like nothing. We're the same spot where we changed leagues and we're still not making the NCAA tournament. And now if we do, nobody's going to watch it.
In due time, they'll make it.
You know what?
I believe in Campy. Campy's a great coach.
You know what? Next year, I'm going to pass you the number. Maybe you lob a text. Say, look, Adam, John, and I want to go up there and present. We'll wear a nice suit. We'll go up there, and everyone will look around. Our first opening line will be, we know you don't know who we are, but we love Oakland basketball. I think you and I should go up there in a suit and look nice and then shock everybody by just talking shit and having a little stick out there.
If I'm still at 11:30, okay, right? If I am, foreshadowing here, people, foreshadowing. That's what a good storyteller does. If I'm still at 11:30,
they haven't fired you yet for figuring you out.
Yes, or that. I'll talk to Neil as we're getting stuff ready for Oakland basketball. Okay. I basically am the head producer for Oakland basketball.
Exactly.
Along with Ryan,
you'd say along the lines of this. Look,
and I take care of whatever he needs.
You say only if it's needed, and you don't have a presenter. If you need like 4 or 5 alternatives. John would really like to go up there and be at an award show. He's never been to one. He's never really been acknowledged for anything outside of his own self-acknowledgement. He'd really like it if you just
his own self-acknowledgement.
Don't tell him that I messaged, just because I'll probably forget that I told you this. Just tell him, look, send him a message and invite him. He might not come. You don't have to. He just really wants to be invited. He just wants to be invited. He just wants to be like, damn. Especially when you invite other members of the media that don't even show up ever to the games or to cover the team. It's like, come on, just slap an invite. Come on. Look, I know I asked Vito on the internet how many porns he has, but it's just for fun.
How many porns he has?
Okay, I knew I was going to ask this, but I don't want to make a topic, but I want to ask you, maybe we'll flesh it out at one point. Because there was a story, if you heard it. Okay. Some dude, his mom, threw out his porn collection, and he valued it.
Horrible.
He valued it at $90K because he had vintage. Yeah, look it up. Look up Mansu's family for lost porn collection.
Porn?
Yep, exactly. Wow. So I got to thinking.
Did I ever tell you the story about how I borrowed my buddy's my buddy's brother had a porn collection, and he was in the Army, so I got like the whole box,
right?
Because I had a porn habit that was really, really bad. Anyways, I also love Dragon Ball Z a lot.
Okay.
A lot. Like, I love Dragon Ball Z. And this is back when you had a VCR in your bedroom and you could record television. Most young kids nowadays who are listening to this have no idea what the hell I'm talking about. But if you're a little bit older, you used to be able to put a VHS tape in your VCR and you used to be able to set it to record. I used to record Toonami and I would record Dragon Ball Z. So there was this one video called Awesomations, and in the middle of the scene where these two chicks are doing stuff to each other, all of a sudden it cuts to Frieza hammock.
Exactly.
It was
That's the
absolutely
worst.
crazy.
I love it because
He got the tape back.
this is going to be better than Pistons talk. I think this topic will be better than Pistons talk, and I love that we're cutting some of the Pistons talk to talk about this. But this is what I was thinking about this, okay? And I think that it's definitely water cooler talk for guys, and maybe you'll get a sense next week and report back.
Okay.
How many porns is too creepy for a guy to have?
Ooh.
How many is too much? Because Vito dropped the 0 line. I call bullshit on him.
He
If you
said he
check
had
it-
0 porn.
He's like, I'm a good Christian boy. He's
Bro.
like, he said he's checked. He said he's
Bro.
investigated online and things like that. That was funny, but he says he's got 0.
I'm pretty sure Vito's got like a burner account. So he just sits there and he's like, he has all kinds of stuff on Brazzers or
But how many?
RedTube,
If
YouPorn.
because look, we all know guys have a certain stash, but is like 5 movies in the cupboard? Because if you look at it, for me, I'm probably in the neighborhood of like 25 to 30 across. But I hide them. No one's gonna find them. I hide them behind the regular movies.
You got them stashed. So
They're
the kids
stashed.
don't
They're
see 'em?
stashed. But how many's too much? Where you say, if you said I got 89, bro, and you're like, dude, you're a freaking perv. What number is appropriately okay for a guy to have?
Okay, well, here's the deal. I don't judge. Like, if you got 89, I'm like, cool. What do you have? You have anything
You wanna look
interesting?
through the collection.
Yeah, I
Okay,
wanna
it's
know,
you.
anything interesting? I'm totally weird like that. I'm pretty open-minded.
See, I'm
about
setting it at
just
15.
about everything.
I'm setting it at 15. I want to investigate this, but I don't think it's an online topic that we can openly do on the network.
Why
but I
not?
think I think I could do it.
Who's
but-
the boss here?
I'm the boss.
You and I.
Okay,
That's it.
I'll do it.
Why the hell not?
All right, I'll ask it. I'll ask it today. And Lou, I'll definitely put that out. We're cutting Pistons talk to talk about this. But I'm thinking seriously in the neighborhood of like 15 to 20, maybe 10 is normal. What do you think the average guy has?
I think the average guy. This is such a great topic, just off the top of the head. This is awesome.
I knew I was going to talk to you about it because I put a video with Vito and he's like 0. I'm like, that's BS.
BS all day. I think the average guy probably like actual like DVDs. See, I don't think anybody has DVDs anymore. I think it's all internet porn now.
Yeah, well, no, we're talking to guys
But-
probably in their 30s.
Okay, so-
and up
okay.
that bought them back in the day.
I would say probably 10. I would say 10. So look,
10's the norm.
I have a horrible porn addiction, right? I just underwent.
Seriously?
Yeah, dude, it's brutal.
You underwent therapy?
No, I kind of did.
I'm Adam,
I kind
and
of
I got addiction.
No, I kind of did my own thing. Okay. I'll tell you about it. Why the hell not? Let's talk about it. So I watch a lot of TED Talks too.
Okay.
So I watched one TED Talk that talked about how porn just kind of messes with your brain.
Yeah.
And it's not even porn. It's internet porn.
Okay.
Because you're getting inundated with so many images and so much all the time that your brain doesn't know what to do. So it desensitizes parts of your brain and makes having regular sex not as good as it normally should be or could be. And it also affects your performance. And I take a lot of pride in my performance. So I watched this one video. This one video ended up leading me to another one. YouTube is great. You just fall down the YouTube hole. You'll watch everything for hours on end. I watched this other one. And basically it was this guy who talked about his really awful porn addiction and what he did to correct it. And basically it takes 120 days. You have to go porn free for 120 days. No internet porn. It's specific to internet porn. Like if you look through a magazine, you're okay. But you can't watch internet porn because, again, you get inundated with so many different images and so many different visuals that your brain can't filter it all out, and it just messes you up. So I did this, made it 120 days, not watching porn. I think my performance did improve. At certain points, I found myself not even having the desire to watch it. And then after the 120 days, I ended up watching a video, and I was like, ugh. It was just kind of like, I don't really need this. It totally altered the way I view porn, which was good. It had the desired effect. But yeah, internet porn's messy, man. I think most people now watch internet porn. Like I said, I have a bad porn habit. I like it probably way too much, and I think I have or had six VHS and DVDs like combined. The rest of my stuff, I either had it saved on a hard drive because I had a bunch of videos I downloaded. So I had it saved on. I have a hard drive, like a big hard drive from an old computer that's got a bunch on it, and the rest of it was just internet. I mean, if you guys need like internet sites for porn, I got you. Like free ones that are quality, I got you. But it's bad, man. Internet porn is messy. It'll really screw you up. Like I said, I did that thing, 120 days, no porn, no masturbating. It was great. It was it had the desired effect for me. It worked out really, really well for me. The thing is, probably right around day 125, day 127, I totally fell off the wagon. I fell off the wagon hard. It just goes to show you how addicting it really is, because I watched one video and like I said, I was like, whatever. The next day though, like I couldn't get enough of it. And I was like, okay, like you just fixed yourself. Now you're going back, it's like a freaking junkie having a problem. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh crap, I'm off the heroin now. Everything's great. Oh wait, hold on. Here's my fix. It was totally messy. But yeah.
You're reformed now.
Yeah. I mean, for the most part, I can't tell you last time I watched internet porn. It's been a while.
That's good, man.
I'll tell you this much too. Working out, dude, I killed it. I was looking super beefcake. It was awesome. Super brawny, feeling extra strong. Everything was great. You know why? Because I had all my demon seeds still in my nutsack. It was great. Didn't lose any of that stuff. No knuckle children.
So we're okay with saying that you're allowed to have 10 and you're normal. But if you start getting to 15, 20, what about the guys that have like 1,000 porns and start collecting it?
I don't think you're creepy, right? I just think you have a problem.
Okay.
Like you want to, don't use the word creepy, because I think the word creepy makes people feel weird.
It's problematic. It's too problematic.
Yeah. I think creepy's...
It's too unusual.
Yes, let's go with that. I think creepy is judgmental, and that makes people feel weird.
Okay.
So don't judge people. Like I said, you could be into whatever you want to be into. I don't judge you. I don't care. And I've had talks about this on Twitter with people. You're into chicks with boobs and they got a wiener? Cool, that's your thing. Whatever, dude. I don't care. You're into chick on chick? Cool, whatever, dude. I think we're all into chick on chick, right? But if not, whatever. You can be into whatever you want. The word cuckold got brought up on the radio the other morning.
Really?
Yeah, I was driving in and I had Mojo in the morning on. I was like flipping through and I stopped real quick because I had Intern Billy on. Intern Billy is a very interesting character. He dropped the line cuckold on there. Mm-hmm. Not really into that. But if you're into that, right. There's nothing wrong with that.
Okay.
It's
so
okay.
10. And you think the average person would say they have 5 to 10 currently?
I would say.
I think we're low. I think we're being way. I think as we got older, we're conservative.
I've just seen the tweet.
Nobody else in town is going to ask that question.
How many adult? Let's see. Curious. How many adult movies in a person's collection is too much? DocNJock said it at 10.
I think so.
I'm retweeting that.
I think 10 is probably not enough. I think most people would say they got 20, maybe double that.
I mean, that's...
How many think you got, Vinny? How many porns do you think Vinny Stubbs has in his collection? Ask him. Text him.
I'll text him.
Text him right now. Let's set the number. What odds?
Whatever Vinny says?
Yeah. What do you think he'll say? 39? Set the over under at 30. Over. He's got over 30.
Over 30?
I think he's going to say 38. He's going to be in the 30s.
I'm going to text him right now.
And I think it's great water cooler talk too, because this is what I think about too. You guys are getting a live glimpse is what I was thinking about driving on Big Beaver in traffic. I'm thinking, man, I can't wait to talk to Adam.
This is what you're thinking.
And I'm thinking, you know what? I got a topic that can be used at water coolers and at bars. You're like, dude, how many porns do you have? 1, 2. How many is too much? How many do you think is way too much to have in this day and age? Because some people will say that adult movies are, if used responsibly, can enhance sexuality. Some will say that, you know what, it's a necessary thing that also helps people to express themselves, but going too much. So I think in the neighborhood of maybe having 10 is okay, realistically, but most guys probably in their neighborhood of 20. I think it's a good water cooler talk. So one day, the goal will be to have a dignitary here and be like, so, Pepsi, a dignitary. So Pepsi or Coke, what's your favorite movie? What do you got in the CD player? How many porns you got? All right. The Pistons were embarrassing.
Oh,
and
awful.
By the time this comes out, the Pistons are more than 90% likely to be down 2-0 heading into the first playoff game at LCA. Mm-hmm. I just think that it was embarrassing. I mean, I don't want them to lose like that, but in the end, Blake Griffin, I think the talk that everyone is really upset about is we need him. He's not there. What's his MO? He's injury prone. We need him. And your argument was, look, even with Blake Griffin, this is nonsense. We're getting blown out. It's not worth it to have this.
I love our followers, by the way.
Okay.
Al Johnson, right? Big Al here.
Al gets in.
1, 2, 1, 2. Probably have 25. Can't have too many.
I think we're conservative. I think it's a great question, and I know it's sick to think about, but that's what.
It's not. There's nothing wrong with sex. It's cool. Exactly. I don't see a problem with it.
Exactly.
I'm tweeting him. I'll be like, Al, you're the man.
Exactly. So you can never have too many. Pistons.
Okay, sorry.
It's okay. I know. Pistons. It's embarrassing. With Blake Griffin, I think you and I are in the same boat. Even with him, it would be a situation in which you probably the ceiling is one game, but. Your argument with the fellas at your work was real and it was honest, and I think it was legitimate in that there's no point in the Pistons being in this situation. But now I listen to those that defend because they're strong, they're vocal. I like the Piston fanboys on Twitter, the guys like Detroit Bad Boys, those that are analytical. They say this, look, this year's draft, and this is their position, it's strong. I like it. And we'll probably start to bring some of these guys on because they have the ability to debate, and they call up and they tweet and interact, and they have a strong following. You know what they say? They say, look, this year's draft class, it wasn't worth it to get into it. So in the end, statistically speaking, you weren't, if you were like, because this roster was not built, they're looking at it factually and honestly. They're like, look, this roster's not built to, lose 60 games. This roster, because of how bad the NBA is across the board, could just go out there, open up the gym, and you're going to win 30 games. So it's not worth it to tank because you are not statistically in the category of winning 18 games, 20 games like the worst teams are in the league. So in this situation, it's not worth it to argue to tank. The situation is that, you know what? Yes, they do got to change over the roster. It's going to be a process, but they don't agree with doing it by tanking. They're like, look, you got a guy like Blake Griffin, even if he's not going to be the head of a team that wins a championship, he's the guy that you bring in to change the culture and to at least start to show people, hey, this is how hard you work. This is how talent looks like. This is how you conduct yourself as a pro. And yes, nobody's putting blinders on and saying that this Piston team is headed anywhere, but they don't agree that this year's draft would have been worth it to tank. And they're like, look, you're here, might as well compete, stop talking about tanking. What was your argument with the fellas, and is this embarrassing for the Pistons to at least be here and getting their ass kicked by the Bucks?
It's absolutely embarrassing. They looked horrible on Sunday night. Absolutely god-awful. Milwaukee's B squad was running the team off the floor. I don't know if people realize this or not, but Giannis ended up sitting, I think, the final 5 to 7 minutes of the third, and he didn't come back in the fourth at all. He normally plays 33 minutes. He gave you 22, and he ate you alive. In 22 minutes, he led that team in scoring and in rebounding. Let that sink in. The guy didn't even play almost the entire second half of the game, and he crushed you. Their B squad beat the pants off of you. The big argument was Blake Griffin makes all the difference in the world. Blake makes this a better game. How? Their star player, their best guy, took off the entire second half, said, I'm going to rest. What does Blake bring to this team? How much better is a hobbled Blake Griffin right now? You lost by 35. Their best player sat the entire fourth quarter. What is Blake going to give you that's going to be tangibly better here? I don't understand it. I don't see it. Yeah, Blake is this team. Honestly, Blake is the team. The way the team is built and the way the team is set up, the entire offense has to run through Blake. All right? So when he doesn't play, just wave the white flag. It's going to be a struggle for you to win a game. And you've seen it when this team lost games to lonely Cleveland. You've seen it when this team lost games in the middle of the season when they needed to win them because Blake was getting a rest day. Without Blake Griffin, this team is woeful for sure. You can't do anything. Andre Drummond is a bum, okay? He's not good. Honestly, guys, he is mentally frail, and if he doesn't have his big brother out there, he's not performing. He didn't have a great night on Sunday, all right? And I know they're going to play here on Wednesday night, and the podcast is going to come out on Thursday, and we haven't seen the game yet. But I'm anticipating
it could be closer, maybe 15.
No,
it's gonna be bad.
No, I'm going to tell you no. Because you lost by 35. Like, you didn't even show up at a certain point. At a certain point in that game, we were on Twitter taking bets as to how many points they're going to score before halftime. You couldn't stop them. You couldn't. They put their B squad in, and their B squad ran roughshod over all of you. You're embarrassing. Embarrassing. And Blake Griffin doesn't make that big of a difference. He doesn't. Okay, yeah, it's a closer game. Yeah, maybe they're a little bit more efficient on offense. Maybe they play tighter defense. But you know what? You don't have anybody to stop their best player, arguably the league's MVP. You've got nobody even in his realm. Nobody. Not even Blake. Not even your champion.
So you're saying, look, it really wasn't worth it to get into the postseason to get their ass spanked. It wasn't worth it.
Not at all. Look, I understand what they're saying. I totally get it, right? Because I'm looking at a mock draft right now, and I'm like,
who the fuck are these people?
Like, who do you want? Honestly, Kobe White, maybe? He's going to probably go in the top 10. Probably. So you would have to have sucked really, really bad.
Right now, in terms of what people are looking at, Zion and a bunch of potentials.
Well,
And maybe number 2, RJ Barrett.
Look, RJ Barrett's probably going to be good. Ja Morant is probably going to be good, but you have to realize too, he's going on 20. You know, he's a little bit of an older guy. It's what it is. You know, I don't know. I mean, basketball's weird too, right? Like Brandon Clark, he's a power forward out of Gonzaga. Guy's going to be 23 when he gets drafted. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, that's considered old in the NBA, which is weird. It's really weird, but that's considered old. It's what it is. I get what they're saying, and I understand it. But if you're a Pistons fan, what joy did Sunday bring to you? Cool, you made the playoffs, but you were embarrassed.
If you listen to Shay Norling at Norling Shay on their network in the Wanna Bet podcast, he came out openly and said, look, the line set at 12, that the action was so heavy that it went up to 14. You could have got the Pistons plus 14. He came out and said, no, I think it's a safe bet that you could bet the Pistons, you could bet the Bucks laying the points every single game and be ahead. Yeah. And he came out and said it, so hopefully he took his advice, laid a couple schmeckles down and said, we hope our Pistons get their ass kicked.
And look, that's about it. And I'm pretty positive they're going to get their stuff pushed in again.
It's going to be close. I don't think Andre's going to be
I see a 4-game sweep here.
Okay.
I don't know how they win a game.
Yeah.
All right.
No.
Cool.
There's no wins. Yeah.
Look, Blake comes back. All right. So generally he averages 27. We'll say he puts up 25. You still lost by 10. And that's with Giannis sitting on a bench. Giannis is going to sit on the bench if Blake is back. He's going to play part of that fourth quarter. You know, that was my point. That's what I was trying to convey to these guys. You know, and look, I love Drew. I think Drew is awesome. I think he's a really creative guy. I think he's really, really smart. I think he has a great perspective on almost everything. Same thing with Ben Raven. Ben Raven's great. Read his stuff. He writes for MLive. He does a fantastic job. Both these guys. But they're Piston fans.
Yeah.
And sometimes your fandom gets in the way of what is smart and what is right.
And what everybody wants is the Pistons to be on a track to win a championship. And right now they're at the beginning stages, and they're nowhere near what we all want. So it's unfortunate.
Yeah, look, the way this team is put together and what it has to do to get to where it needs to go, it's going to take almost 2 years. Yeah. Honestly, you need to lose some of these contracts. Reggie's not a very good player. All right, let's just be honest. When Ish Smith is out there, this offense is much more efficient. Okay, you can't bring Ish Smith back next year.
Yeah,
do you realize that?
Right.
Like you can't. You're gonna lose. You're gonna lose arguably your best point guard. Okay, because you have Reggie's contract.
Yeah,
like let that sink in. The guy that you have to keep isn't even as good as the guy you're going to lose, who makes way less than the guy that you have to keep. Like the contracts are just so bloated and so blown out of proportion for the guys who don't really contribute all that much. And I called Andre Drummond a bum when I started this rant. And what I mean by bum, he is very good at rebounding and defending the basket. He is what a center should have been back in the 80s, 90s, and maybe early 2000s. But the game has evolved. He is a dinosaur. In this new version of the NBA, you need a guy to be able to stretch the floor. You need a guy to be able to pull somebody out and maybe make a three-pointer now and again. Maybe be a little bit lethal. On top of that, my big issue with Andre is when it's on the defensive side or even the offensive side. When they jack up a shot, you don't ever see him nor anybody else go to try to grab that offensive rebound. Can somebody please get in the mix, grab an easy rebound, and do a putback real quick? I mean, that's an easy 2 points. On top of that, you might get fouled. You could turn into a three-point play. It's just simple things like that are so frustrating with this team. And when you watch Andre, you see it all the time. Giannis had the ball and did a half step like he was going to drive to the basket. Drummond took one step back. Giannis took a step back behind the line and jacked up a three-pointer. And you know what Andre did? He just waved at him. He just said, all right, cool, go ahead, take that shot. Like, you're guarding him. You need to be in his face. There's no reason you should have 6 to 8 feet of separation. Get in his grill. Make it difficult on the guy. At least make him pay. If he's going to drive to the basket, make him pay. Make him earn those baskets. And you don't see that. You don't see that from Andre because he looks too disinterested. Instead, he'd rather get teed up and rather go blow kisses to the crowd. Dumb. He's mentally fragile. And that's so frustrating because you invested so damn much in him and you built this damn team around him. And then you got a guy like Blake going over there bitching at the referees and he gets teed up too. Like, come on. How are you going to unravel like this? You guys played like absolute dog shit. How are you going to unravel? That's what's frustrating, man. It's brutal. Honestly, you could have had Giannis. You could have. Instead, who'd you take? You take Stanley. Was Stanley the pick, I think, when Giannis went? Might have been. I'd have to go back and look. But you could have had Giannis. And you know what? Giannis has the mind of a killer. He does nothing. Everything he does is sleep, eat, and breathe basketball. Everything. He's in the gym working out with chains around his neck doing tricep dips. That's what bodybuilders do. This guy's trying to beef up so he can handle the hacking when he drives to the lane. Like, he gets it. He understands it. He's cerebral about it. He's one guy on the Milwaukee Bucks, and he elevates everybody. Drummond doesn't do that. Blake kind of does that. Reggie sure as shit doesn't do that. You got nobody like that. You got nobody, and that's what's frustrating.
One final note. Look, in talking about Tiger Woods, I definitely watched it. I liked the fact that it started at 9 a.m. It was cool to see. I just didn't get to the level of people that were like crying over it and were like really emotional about Tiger Woods. Look, it's a great story, a great comeback. I think there's a strong opportunity for Tiger Woods to be competitive, and that's a good thing for golf. And that's where I want to leave it. I don't feel like I had an emotional experience or a revolutionary time seeing Tiger Woods come back. It was great. You know, a guy that had talent reclaimed his prize, and we always like to see stuff like that. I think it's great. I don't really care about all the personal, off-the-course type nonsense that he got into. It obviously derailed his career. It's going to be talked about. It's part of his story. It's part of his narrative. But in the end, I look at it like good for golf, good for Tiger Woods. I don't see him winning 3 more, maybe 1 or 2. Maybe he ends his career 1 short, tied at the best. I don't see him breaking it. I think it's going to be tough. He's got a 3-year window, so that's roughly 16 majors that he's going to have to compete with these young cats, and he's going to have to stay healthy. So I would give him one more maybe at the Masters next year. It was his best opportunity, but he's got a good game, and he reworked it. Props to Tiger Woods. Let's get hyped about Tiger Woods winning, and I think that this week it's nice to talk about something nice. You can get hyped about Tiger Woods. Nothing wrong with that. But at the same time, keep it in check. You don't have to, cry about it and, go online and share these deep emotional sentiments about a golfer winning. I think keep it in check a little bit. It's exciting, no doubt about it. Fist pumps, great. High five your boys. If you watch it, no problem. Tears? No.
I wasn't crying about it. I was definitely excited, though. I really wanted.
It was cool.
I wanted an 8-man playoff. I wanted,
yeah,
I did.
All of them, right?
I wanted more golf. I didn't want it to stop. I woke up in the morning, sat down, had breakfast at the little bar at the house, and then I moved to the couch, and I didn't leave the couch. At one point, I was like, I have to shower, and I have to take a shit. I didn't move. I just held it, and I waited. It was great. Masters was awesome. I think Tiger, if he remains healthy, breaks Jack's record.
Hey-o.
The thing that
The
thing that I took out of watching the Masters when Molinari bogeyed on 12.
End of drink, baby.
You could see Tiger. You could see everybody else. Yeah,
He knew it.
You could see everybody else kind of shrink back into themselves, and all of a sudden that confidence was broken with them. And Tiger just swelled. It was like he absorbed whatever they were running on, and he just gobbled it up, and it made him stronger.
He was mentally stronger in that he laid up. Yep. He was conservative. Yep. He didn't try to bomb it. He understood the course, and what people saw was the flag tricked people into thinking they could hit a club into the green there, and what happened was, no, when you get the ball up into the air in Augusta, the wind takes it down. Yep. Everybody knew, Molinari messed up, and Tiger laid up, and he was smart, and that's what it was. He didn't out-physical everybody. He out-mentaled them, and that's really a great sign of a champ, and I liked it.
And that was one of the things young Tiger struggled with. Young Tiger would try to go up there and bully you and try to outpower you and hit you, and in this game right here, he just
bada boom.
It was all mental, man. It was mental.
Mentally toughest guy in the room. Props to Tiger Woods. I think it's great for golf, and it reinvigorated golf from the 2019 season. Mm-hmm. All good. Great podcast, sir.
This was fun.
I think less Pistons made it a lot better.
It was definitely more interesting.
For the Jock, Adam Strozinski, I am the Doc, John Macaroon. Episode 298 is coming to a close. Thank you for finding this podcast. Thank you for supporting all the sponsors. Go check out DetroitSportsPodcast.com for all information regarding the network. At Detroit Podcast, at Adam R. STROZ is where you can find us on Twitter. I enjoyed this recording. It was fun. And like I said, if you've heard anything that you agree or disagree with, feel free to message. We enjoy the interaction.
We love talking to you guys, so just hit us up.
See everybody next Thursday and we can't wait. Definitely pay attention to the network. We're going to definitely break down the Detroit Lions schedule that got released on Wednesday. You know where to find the best place to interact with Detroit sports. That's the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Also, guys, check out the Flickr app. Join the conversation. Every single day, we got something going on. We're talking with you guys.
Flickapp.com. See everybody next time.
It's not over yet, so you can ask me that one next week.
Go Blue, bitch.
This was locker room talk.
Second dick.
Sorry, Detroit. Didn't quite work out.
And all I can say is Detroit Sports Podcast scores.
I have voices in my head. They counsel me. They understand. They talk to me.